Hey guys, in this month's Historical Fiction 101, I'm going to be sharing with you some recommendations that involve either witches or witchcraft. So let me throw this out there really quickly. I think a while back, I think years ago, I did do a Historical Fiction 101 where I had some recommendations that were specifically for the Salem witchcraft trials. So I wanted to do another recommendation list, but still keeping with like witches and witchcraft, but yeah, not having anything to do with the Salem witchcraft trials. So I hope I did that. I hope all these books don't have something with the Salem witchcraft trials just randomly thrown in there because I was trying to vet them all out, you know. So yeah, as always, I have 10 recommendations here. Now is the time to pull up your Goodreads as I read through all the plot synopsises of these books. And as always, I'm also going to be looking down at my laptop and reading off the synopsises. And you can have a visual of the book over here. The first three books that I'm going to be sharing with you guys all have something to do with like mythology retellings, characters who are considered like witches. And I oftentimes consider mythology retellings to be a sort of historical fiction setting anyway, even if they have like fantasy elements in them, because you know mythology is based off of real world sort of things, you know, from real world mythologies. So you know, like Norse and Greek and stuff like that. So yeah, the first three are going to have mythology retellings that involve like characters who are considered witches in their various different mythologies. First up, The Witch and the Tsar by Olesa Salnikova Gilmore. Okay, so this one. As a half-goddess possessing magic, Yaga is used to living on her own, her prior entanglements with mortals having led to heartbreak. She mostly keeps to her hut in the woods, where those in need of healing seek her out, even as they spread rumors about her supposed cruelty and wicked spells. But when her old friend Anastasia, now the wife of the Tsar and suffering from a mysterious illness, arrives in her forest desperate for her protection, Yaga realizes the fate of all Russia is tied to Anastasia's. Yaga must step out of the shadows to protect the land she loves. As she travels to Moscow, Yaga witnesses a 16th century Russia on the brink of chaos. Tsar Ivan, soon to become Ivan the Terrible, grows more volatile and tyrannical by the day, and Yaga believes the Tsarista is being poisoned by an unknown enemy. But what Yaga cannot know is that Ivan is being manipulated by powers far older and more fearsome than anyone can imagine. So yeah, we got like some Scandinavian, or not Scandinavian, but, or would it be? I don't know. So as you can see, we have like some Russian mythology going on here with the story of Baba Yaga, which is really interesting. And I have read this book, and I did like it to some extent. There were some things that I was a little nitpicky about with it, kind of frustrated me, but still, I did like it at the end of the day. Next up, The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek, and this is based off of Norse mythology, and this is a book that I have read and enjoyed. I absolutely loved this book, you guys. This is like how a retelling of Norse mythology should be done, I think. Okay, Angrboda's story begins where most witches' tales end, with a burning, a punishment from Odin for refusing to provide him with knowledge of the future. The fire leaves Angrboda injured and powerless, and she flees into the farthest reaches of a remote forest. There she is found by a man who reveals himself to be Loki, and her initial distrust of him transforms into a deep and abiding love. Their union produces 3 unusual children, each with a secret destiny, who Angrboda is keen to raise at the edge of the world, safely hidden from Odin's all-seeing eye. But as Angrboda slowly recovers her prophetic powers, she learns that her blissful life and possibly all of existence is in danger. Ooh. Next up, we have some Greek mythology here, and this is Stacie by Madeline Miller. In the house of Helios, god of the sun and mightiest of the Titans, a daughter is born. But Circe is a strange child, neither powerful like her father, nor viciously alluring like her mother. Turning to the world of mortals for companionship, she discovers that she does possess power, the power of witchcraft, which can transform rivals into monsters and menace the gods themselves. Threatened, Zeus banishes her to a deserted island, where she hones her occult craft, tames wild beasts, and crosses paths with many of the most famous figures in all of mythology, including the Minotaur, Daedalus and his doomed son Icarus, the murderous Medea, and of course, wily Odysseus. Yes. But there is danger too, for a woman who stands alone, and Stacie unwittingly draws the wrath of both men and gods, ultimately finding herself pitted against one of the most terrifying and vengeful of the Olympians. To protect what she loves most, Stacie must summon all her strength and choose once and for all whether she belongs with the gods she is born from or with the mortals she has come to love. And I did quite enjoy this book. Okay, so with the mythology retellings that involve witches out of the way, let's get into like kind of just some more basic stuff with witchcraft and witches. Hour of the Witch by Chris Bojalian. I need to figure out how to pronounce this man's name because I actually have quite a few books from him and I can't figure out how to pronounce his name. Okay, Boston, 1662. Mary Deerfield is 24 years old. Her skin is porcelain, her eyes delft blue, and in England she might have had many suitors, but here in the New World, amid this community of saints, Mary is the second wife of Thomas Deerfield, a man as cruel as he is powerful. When Thomas, prone to a drunken rage, drives a 3-tined fork into the back of Mary's hand, she resolves that she must divorce him to save her life. But in a world where every neighbor is watching for signs of the devil, a woman like Mary, a woman who harbors secret desires and finds it difficult to tolerate the brazen hypocrisy of so many men in the colony, soon finds herself the object of suspicion and rumor. When tainted objects are discovered buried in Mary's garden, when a boy she has treated with herbs and simply dies, or when their servant girl runs screaming in fright from her home, Mary must fight to not only escape her marriage but also the gallows. Ooh. Next up, The Burning Times by Jean Calogridis. And I have read and enjoyed Jean Calogridis in the past, and I think I need to add this book to my list. Okay, a sweeping historical epic and powerful romantic drama set in medieval something. The sentence structure of this is really terrible. It's set during the medieval ages, during the time of the Great Plague, okay, and witchcraft and the Inquisition. During the height of superstition, in the midst of the Great Plague, religious fervor and terror of witchcraft sweep 14th century France. Locked in a torture chamber within the walled city of Carcassonne, the abbess Marie-Francois listens helplessly to the screams of her sisters while she awaits the arrival of the Inquisition to take her confession. As something the worst of heretics, a fiery death awaits her at the stake. The Grand Inquisitor's scribe, Brother Michael, arrives with his mentor, Father Charles, confident that her soul could be saved, but upon meeting the abbess, Michael is assailed by a sudden horrifying wave of desire that is both physical and attended by memories of another man's life, and for surely this is a woman he saw his own eyes perform a miracle outside the palace of the popes. The abbess slowly divulges her past. Michael's safe and ordered world is ripped apart. Her tale will shake the very foundation of his belief, while his heart will be trapped between the cleansing fires of Christian purity and the seductive flames of his desire. Ooh. This sounds really good. I just wish Goodreads kind of cleaned up this plot synopsis a little bit, because there's like run-on sentences and repeat sentences. I was having trouble kind of even following what the hell this was saying. Next up, The Witchfinder's Sister by Beth Underdown. Essex, England, 1645. With a heavy heart, Alice Hopkins returns to the small town she grew up in. Widowed with child and without prospects, she is forced to find refuge at the house of her younger brother, Matthew. In the 5 years she has been gone, the boy she knew has become a man of influence and wealth. But more has changed than merely his fortunes. Alice fears that even as the cruel burns of a childhood accident still mark his face, something terrible has scarred Matthew's soul. There's a new darkness in the town. 2 frightened whispers are staring in the streets, and Alice's blood runs cold with dread when she discovers that Matthew is a ruthless hunter of suspected witches. Torn between devotion to her brother and horror of what he's become, Alice is desperate to intervene and deathly afraid of the consequences. But as Matthew's reign of terror spreads, Alice must choose between her safety and her soul. Yes. God, I have been wanting to get this book for a very long time as well, because it sounds so good. Next up, The Witching Tide by Margaret Mayer, and this book was just recently released in July of this year, it says. East Anglia, 1645. Martha Hallibread, a midwife, healer, and servant, has lived peacefully for more than 4 decades in her beloved coastal village of Cleftwater. Rendered voiceless as a child, Martha has not spoken a word in years. One autumn morning, a sinister newcomer appears. The witchfinder, Silas Makepeace, has been blazing a trail of destruction along the coast, and now has Cleftwater in his sights. His arrival strikes fear into the heart of the community. Within a day, local women are being captured and detained, and Martha finds herself a silent witness to the hunt. Powerless to protest, Martha is enlisted to search the accused women for devil's marks. Now she is caught between suspicion and betrayal, having to choose between protecting herself or condemning the women of the village. In desperation, she revives a wax witching doll that belonged to her mother in the hope that it will bring protection. But the doll's true powers are unknowable. Martha harbors a terrible secret that could cost her her own freedom, and the gallows are looming. Oh, sounds terrifying. Next up, The Familiars by Stacie Hawes. Young Fleetwood Shuttleworth, a noblewoman, is with child again. None of her previous pregnancies had borne fruit, and her husband Richard is anxious for an heir. Then Fleetwood discovers a hidden doctor's letter that carries a dire prediction. She will not survive another birth. By chance, she meets a midwife named Alice Gray, who promises to help her deliver a healthy baby. But Alice soon stands accused of witchcraft. Is there more to Alice than meets the eye? Fleetwood must risk everything to prove her innocence, as the two women's lives become intertwined. The witch trials of 1612 loom. Time is running out. Both their lives are at stake. Only they know the truth. Only they can save each other. Next up, The Manningtree Witches by A.K. Blakemore. I do own this book, and I can't wait to get to it. England, 1643. Puritanical fervor has gripped the nation, and in Manningtree, a town depleted of men since the wars began, the hot terror of damnation burns, and the hearts of women left to their own devices. Rebecca West, fatherless and husbandless, chafes against the drudgery of her days, livened only occasionally by her infatuation with the handsome young clerk, John Eads. But then a newcomer, Matthew Hopkins, arrives, a mysterious pious figure dressed from head to toe in black. He takes over the Thorn Inn and begins to ask questions about what the women on the margins of this diminished community are up to. Dangerous rumors of covens, pacts, and bodily ones have begun to hang over women like Rebecca, and the future is as frightening as it is thrilling. And the last recommendation that I have here, this is Book 2 in the All Souls trilogy, Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness. And instead of me sitting here reading this synopsis, because I don't want to give too much away, let me kind of just summarize it in my own way. What you need to know about the All Souls trilogy is that it takes place in like our contemporary world where witches, vampires, demons, they exist, and our two main protagonists are a witch and a vampire who fall in love. And their big thing in this this universe that Deborah Harkness has created, for whatever reason, witches are having trouble with spellcraft, vampires are having trouble creating new vampires, and demons, for whatever reason, are being driven to insanity. So apparently there's this magical, mystical book that may or may not have the answers and the key to figuring out what is wrong with witches, vampires, and demons, that they may be able to fix it with their DNA or whatever. So eventually what happens, by the time the first book ends, our main witch and vampire character, they realize they have to do a little bit of time traveling. They need to do some time traveling back to the Elizabethan era, where they can figure out the location of this magical book that will help their contemporary issue. And then, yeah, when they time travel back to the present, they'll be able to maybe hopefully go back and collect this book. So that's kind of the gist of it, if you will. So the reason I decided to include this book on this list, our main character, our main protagonist, she is a witch, and yeah, this second book, they do go back in time. They time travel to Elizabethan England, which is really fun and entertaining, seeing a contemporary woman in Elizabethan England. And yeah, our main character, like I said, she's a witch, and she's young, and she's still learning to figure out her powers and come to terms with them, and what she can and can't do with them. So yeah, a really interesting take on kind of witches and witchcraft, you know, kind of split between a contemporary setting and also this historical setting that happens in the second book, which is really brilliant. So you guys, that is it for my recommendations for all things dealing with witches and witchcraft. In the comments below, have I left out some books? Let me know, because I would love to add them to my list and go read them. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.